everyone, welcome back to the Strategic Stripping Podcast. My name is Valeska and I am super excited you're here. I'm also super excited for us to connect with our special guest today. This is Miss Daphne. You found me on YouTube, right?
I did. I found you on YouTube and then I found you on the Apple podcast app on my phone.
Okay, so you are actively searching for stripper advice. Yes, that's awesome. So you've been in the game for about 4 months now?
Yeah, I started, is it 4 months? Yeah, I started at the end of April.
Okay, cool. Okay, so our topic today is going to be the law of attraction, but before we get started, I figured I have some questions I'd like to ask you for people to get to know you a little bit better. What exactly were you looking for?
I was mostly at first I was looking for, how to audition, what to do, what not to do, because I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Okay.
So that was the first part, and then it started to evolve more into customer relations, different types of sales tips, interactions between your coworkers, all sorts of things. And then kind of evolved more into advice about stage performance and things like that. But mostly what I looked for was tips about the clubs and how to interact there.
Okay, so when it comes to sales stuff, have you branched out looking outside of specifically stripper advice, or have you stuck with stripper tips on sales?
I've kind of branched out now, so I have a bunch of different podcasts I listen to.
Awesome. Any suggestions?
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Tony
Robbins is great. I've heard you talk about him, and I told you this story, but it was a funny thing. I was talking to a customer who's been into sales forever, and he's a regular of mine, and I mentioned Tony Robbins, and he said, you know what, I have a whole box of unopened CDs and cassettes at my house, I'll bring them next time. And then I was like, oh, okay, great, that's so cool. And then an hour later, he had left, and he came back, and he had this huge box for me, and I was like, this is the best gift ever. And so that's great. So I've definitely branched out. I've also gotten into kind of listening to some energetic things too about how to kind of come down from your shift and how to kind of protect your emotional energy,
awesome.
Things like that. So yeah, so definitely moved away from the basic stripper thing because I feel like I have that basic info already. You learn so much in a short period of time.
Yeah,
it's a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And so now I'm okay, how do I improve my sales and get them to say yes and things like that? And it's really fascinating.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the fact that you have branched out into how to energetically detach from people, because we are all energy, and when we go into an environment like that, we're literally just opening ourselves up to anybody that walks in the door, and it's
totally,
can be super, super draining. How did you come to that conclusion that you should look into stuff like that? Did you fall into it? Is this something you already knew?
I've never really put a lot of stock into it, but I've noticed that one of the reasons why I'm probably really becoming really good at what I'm doing, I think, is because I am really genuine, and I kind of what I offer my customers is very open and genuine, and that comes with a cost though. And so I realized when I got home from work, I was just so drained. I couldn't mentally, emotionally just do anything. I was just dead. And the day after work, if I did a double or something, I had a dead day.
Yeah.
I just felt nothing. I was just, and I was like, what is this? Why? And I realized that it is really good to offer them a genuine experience, but at the same time, I need to protect myself a little bit, and I am very empathic, and so I think it's really easy for whatever these customers are carrying around with them, it's really easy for it to just kind of attach to you. And, as woo-woo as that sounds,
it doesn't to me at all.
I think it's pretty legitimate, and so now I'll do things when I'm driving home from work, I'll be okay, thank you, universe, or whatever, for the opportunity to make all this money. Whatever came with me, please go now. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, but thank you, goodbye. And kind of just physically wipe it off of you, and I take an epsom salt bath when I get home, and I don't always want to do those things because I'm just done and I want to go to bed. But I think it's really important to have some sort of ritual.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like all of the stuff that you just said is so next level. Like, I don't know how you got from point A to where you are now in that short of a period of time unless you already had some kind of background in spirituality or even knowledge in quantum physics and understanding energy, right?
I mean, I've dipped into it a little bit, but I've also been out of it for a long time. But really, like, the way I approach this, like, so when I first started, I didn't really think past the audition. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do this crazy thing that I've always wanted to do. And I'm 29 now, so this is the time. Like, I don't want to lose my opportunity. And so I did it. And then I was thinking about it. And I was like, well, I'm kind of doing it, like, the first month. I'm just doing it with, like, you know, one toe in, like, one foot out the door. I wasn't all in. And my money was reflecting that. And I thought about it and was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put all of myself into it for a while. And that also means all the self-care that comes with it, which is an added benefit of this job. I feel like it kind of forces you to do self-care.
Totally.
And so, yeah, so with that comes addressing all the things that come up with it.
That's super great to hear. I can think of many times just getting off work and showering and, you know, completely cleaning myself off, and you get in there and it's like, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I go in the shower, like, I will turn it on as hot as it will go, and there's just this, like, like, skin burning feeling almost that it's like you need almost. You sit there and crave.
And it's interesting, like, particular nights with particular customers, I can go through a night and I'll feel fine afterwards. You know, my connections with customers were really easy, and I didn't have to be really into it.
Right.
But some nights I had just a certain customer or something that took a lot from me.
Right. And
I have to take some extra measures. Or even, like, between customers, when I'm in the dressing room, I'll wipe myself down really intensely just to kind of get them off of me if I didn't like their energy or
and when you
like
say that, you mean with your hands? Do you mean with wipes? Do you mean, like...
Both. Both. I'll, like, energetically just kind of, like, shake my arms out, just like, ugh, like, get off of me. Okay, thank you, goodbye. And then, you know, and then do, like, baby wipes just to get, you know, their sweat or whatever it is off of me. But that's not that often, but sometimes I do that.
Yeah, that's something that Valentina does as well, is she will energetically just wipe her arms to get that off of her. That's something I had never tried. I had never thought of before, and one of the last times I was at work, I did that, and it did feel like I felt like some kind of release, something, you know, going away. Yeah, it was very...
It really helps. It really does. It's a simple thing, but it really helps.
Yeah, it felt really good. I feel like we should touch back on what you said about having genuine interactions with people. It helps you sell, and it also takes more away from you. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, everyone has a different tactic, and everyone has different things that work for them. I don't have let's see, when I'm talking to customers, I definitely have kind of like girl next door vibe. I'm not super flirtatious. I'm working on making more contact with my customers. So I'm not putting out a super intense sexual vibe. It's more of a mental, emotional connection I try and make with them.
Wow, that's actually great to hear, because that's awesome because of what you're about to talk about and a little bit about the law of attraction, how you've moved up to be the top or one of the top money makers in your club, correct?
Yeah, I was told I was the top, but which is, like, very flattering and surprising to me.
Well, that's
especially since I only work a couple of days a week. But
well, that could
which
be
I think also is another reason I'm pretty. So, anyways, I'll go back to that. So, and then when I get them to do the dance, because I'll switch it really quick when I decide I want to dance, I'll turn on my energy a little more intensely. And then during the dance, I give them, like, the best dance I can possibly come up with. And I release a lot of my sexual energy to the point of being able to, like, convince myself that I'm really enjoying this. And they, you know, I've never heard a bad comment from customers. Like, I don't get anything less than 3 dances at a time, and at the club I work at, the dances are 40 each, so that's nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I get really into it, and I you know, and there's pluses and minuses to that, because I feel pretty sapped afterwards of like my sexual energy and my emotional energy.
When you say zapped, though, can you hold that up until the end of the night, or is it typically right after a customer?
No, it actually energizes me while I'm at work.
That's what I figured.
And I feel like it makes me more appealing. Like once I get that first customer, then my night really starts rolling. I get into that zone, and I feel like I'm exuding pheromones because I just had like this, pseudo-sexual experience. Other customers can see that I'm desirable because this other customer had a good time with me, and they're exuding whatever they're exuding, and so then I just stay in it. And if I work a double, which I like to do doubles pretty often, then it depends if I meet my quota. Then once I meet my quota, I'm pretty much done. So that could be at like midnight, 12:30, 1 in the morning, and then I'm done, and I'm just out of there. I might hang out for a little bit, but have a really low-key energy and not really actively trying to find anyone.
What's the purpose of working doubles?
I feel like it gives me a broader range of customers. So I started out doing day shift, and I really like day shift because it gives me the ability to just start out slow. I don't have the money pressure. So when I just come in at night, it's like, okay, I have this amount of time to make this amount of money, and I have more pressure. And when I have that pressure, I don't feel like I do as well, or I'm more stressed out about it.
Okay.
And I don't want to give out that desperate vibe. That's the last thing I want. Like, I don't want my customers to even think about the money aspect at all. Like, I try and avoid that at all costs, that this is a money transaction.
Very cool.
And so during the day shift, it's slower, so I have more time to just kind of be chill with my customers and kind of get into the zone and get on stage and stretch and get ready for the night. And then by night comes along, then everyone starts filling in the club, and I'm ready. Like, I've been in it, and I can stay in it. It takes me a little bit to, like, get into the zone, and once I'm there, it's great.
Right. So what time do you typically get there, and then what time do you typically leave?
So like Saturdays, I like to do doubles on Saturdays, so I get there at 3.
Okay.
And night shift starts at 9, and then I'm there till 2:30. So most of the time I am there till 2:30. At 2:30, the stages end, but anyone that's still working and giving lap dances can stay. So sometimes I'll be there till 3, but normally I don't have to. Normally I'm done making my money by 1:30.
Okay. Have you stayed till the end of the night often or at all?
Yeah, probably like 80% of the time I do stay till the end of the night. It depends if I worked like the night before and just like how much I have left. That's why I try and not work like 2 days in a row that often. I try and spread it out throughout the week.
That makes sense. So only working 2 days a week, but you're working doubles, so you're really pulling a lot of hours there.
I am, yeah. So, well, I'll do like this weekend I'm going up and I'm doing a Friday night, and then I'm going to do a double on Saturday. So, and if I try and do a shift on Sunday, usually Sunday is just, it's just not good. It's just, I know better than to do that. So doing a night and then a double is okay. If I try and do a double and then a double, that's not really a good plan.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
sense.
And
I'll still meet my quota. Like, that's been the amazing thing, is I'm meeting how much I want to make, but it determines, like, how much I suffer. How difficult it is. I don't want it to be difficult. It should be easy.
Yeah.
And if I'm at my best, then it's easy.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. All right. So how did you get started as a stripper?
So I've had a lot of friends in the industry for a long time, and I was always curious about it. I did try out once when I think I was 19, and I didn't actually get to the tryout part. I showed up and I talked to them, and then I left. And
why did you decide to leave?
I liked the idea of dancing. I liked the idea of wearing cute outfits and being on stage. And then when I really thought about the lap dance thing, I wasn't emotionally prepared to do that. I was kind of a serial monogamous dater, so I didn't really know how to spread out my energy between multiple people all the time. So that was too much for me.
You sound like you have a super interesting background.
I do. Yeah. I've done a bunch of weird things. So this is another one of them, but it's the one that I'm benefiting from the most. So then I'm 29, and I just had my 29th birthday, and I have a really amazing boyfriend, and I've been, talking to him about it for about a year, and just like, I want to do this. And he was really into it. He was like, I think you should do it. And I was like, yeah. And finally he was like, will you please just go audition? So you just stop talking about, will you please go do it? And I was like, okay. And so I went to this club in the small town I live in, and all my dancer friends says, don't go there. It's a small club. Like, you won't make any money. And I said, I don't really care about making money. I just want to try it. So that's okay. You know, I didn't really understand the money aspect at all. It's not why I got into it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an added benefit. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is great.
So that's I went there. Super interesting to me as someone that is very aware of energy and about how each individual person you spend it with, you're giving away your energy and you're pulling other people's energy in as well. What was it that made you, like, why did this idea stay in your head for so long if it wasn't about the money?
So I spent most of my life really rejecting my feminine energy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was definitely not in my body, didn't feel comfortable expressing myself sensually, was never a flirtatious girl. I don't even know how I got boyfriends. I just did. And and I really kind of rejected that side of myself. My mother was a very masculine character. And so I just didn't embrace that. And so it took me until my mid-20s to really start feeling at home in my body and as a woman and feeling sensual.
Any idea what brought that out?
Maturity.
Okay.
Really excellent boyfriends.
Okay.
That kind of helped me with that. Yeah, just a change of pace. Feeling more mature, letting go of some insecurities that were not serving me anymore, and some, like, what is that called? Physical dysphoria. What is that? When I had some, like, really negative views about my body that finally I was maybe mature enough to just be like, that's dumb. I'm gonna let that go. Like, I feel great. And I just got to this place of, like,
is there?
confidence.
I have to ask because there's a lot of girls that do have that same kind of thing about their body. They just don't feel like they're good enough. What was it? Do you remember any idea, like, what it was that made you be like, you know what? All that's bullshit, and I have a great body, and I love myself. Or
one thing was I started becoming really physical with my body. So I got really into yoga.
Good. Awesome.
I got into things, and I felt, whether or not I felt like I was beautiful, I at least felt that my body was very strong and capable. I also do a lot of farm work for my family, and so I was using my body all the time. Was like, wow, like, my body I can do anything with my body. And so that kind of helped me move through it and realize that some things were irrelevant. I also got out of a monogamous relationship that wasn't really serving me, and I started dating for the first time, which I'd never really done. And through that, I realized, you know what, if I want to meet someone really cool, I'm going to just be my genuine self, because I'm tired of compromising myself for other people. I'm just going to be myself completely, and whoever I meet is going to get me, and if they don't like me, then, whatever. Like,
right.
And so I came to a point of being like, you know what, like, I feel really good with myself right now. I feel really confident. I feel totally comfortable with being alone. Like, I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need anyone. And so so I got to this place of just being like, I'm awesome. I actually really enjoy spending time with myself.
I love it. That just gave me goosebumps all over.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how I got there, but I definitely went through, like, the depths of depression and that's what it is, body dysmorphia.
Wow, what a name.
And that's a thing, and I just was able to move through it.
I love that you started that with yoga. You started to do stuff with your body and you started to get into yoga. I can't express how much I feel like yoga has saved my life. I really can't.
Right?
Yeah, the way, especially talking about energy and stuff, like, sure, there probably are things that are around us as well, but those emotions and those, like, interactions, especially the bad ones, like, well, and I'm sure the good ones too, but that stuff does it. Apparently you and I are on the same level of woo-woo, but I totally believe it's all true, that this stuff gets stored physically in your body. It actually gets stored in your body, and things like yoga can help release it. The twists and the turns and the poses and the breath work, and it just can help literally release this toxic energy from your body. And besides that, the physical aspect of it, if you have issues with balance, if you have if you don't feel graceful, if you get tense, if you're stressed out, I mean, yoga helps with all of it. And I truly did not know that. The first time I ever went to a yoga class, my dad asked me to go with him, and I went. And after it was over, he was like, "So what did you think about it?" And I said, "That was so boring, I almost fell asleep." And he goes, "Do it 3 more times this week and let me know how you feel at the end of the week." And that was 7 years ago. And I have been hooked ever since. And when I don't do it, my body hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's holy, what am I... what did I do to make myself hurt so bad? And then I realized, oh my God, I haven't done yoga in a few days.
That's definitely it. And I feel like people look at yoga like, oh, you're just stretching. Oh, you're just, it's for flexibility, which is an added benefit. I feel like the actual core of it, though, is to move that energy out, use your body, get things out of it, open things up, and then you also happen to get really flexible and your body feels really good.
Yeah, and balanced, and like you said, you can feel better about yourself, and I mean, the array of benefits from it is truly fascinating, but unless you do it consistently, at least that's been my experience, unless you do it consistently, you really don't know of the true benefits. I took a friend of mine to yoga a long time ago, and big ex-military guy, and we go to yoga. And the people that think that yoga isn't hard, I giggle every time I think about that. Yeah, because it is tough. I've been to yoga with lots of guys that, CrossFit, super ripped, and they're sweating their ass off, and I'm totally fine, and I'm but I took this one guy in, and it was a candlelit yoga. It was super beautiful. I enjoyed the whole thing. I had no idea he was sweating his ass off.
Really?
And, oh my God. He said at one point, he looked down and there was just a literal stream of sweat coming off of his shorts.
Oh my God.
I laughed so hard when I heard that. But anyway, the next day, he was like, "Why am I so sore?" He was like, "I thought yoga was supposed to make you flexible and it was supposed to yeah." And I was like, "It's because you've never done that before. Your body's not used to it. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do." So people's misconceptions of it, and going into a class, if it's your first time, I know because this was my experience, going in for a first time, if you have a bad instructor, if the environment is bad, if there's someone in the room that's super loud, or it smells bad in there, there's a lot of different factors that can make a first timer be like, "No, I'm not doing this again." And
definitely.
Yeah, and it's so sad to think about, because if my dad hadn't told me to go back and try it again, I would have never done yoga again. And I would have been like, "Yeah, I've tried it. I don't really like it." Not realizing there's tons of different types of yoga, and the environment matters, and the instructor matters, and your mat matters, and all kinds of stuff is very, very important. So
you really have to find the right studio and the right instructor. And there's so many, Vinyasa and Hatha and Kundalini, and I started out doing Bikram's hot yoga.
Oh, good for you. That's my favorite.
That kicked my butt. That was, and they would say they were drill instructors, which is what I really needed, the super intense discipline.
Right.
And I mean, they were like, "Yeah, this is your 90 minutes of suffering in here, and that way you don't have to go suffer out in the real world." And it's hot. It was 104 degrees, humid, and you're soaking wet, and you had to hold these poses for a horrible time, and that's not for everybody. I definitely brought people there that were like, "Oh my gosh, why did we do that? That was awful." But for me, it was, really important. I got a lot out of that, so.
Yeah, that's really funny. I would think it would be super hard to go in if it was really hot outside too. I can remember one of the times I hadn't done hot yoga in a long time, and I was in New York, and I was staying with someone who, a lot of places in New York, I think landlords do this so that you can't jack the heat up really high. They don't have the temperature gauge in the apartment. So he left, and I was freezing, and I couldn't make the house hotter, and I was like, "What can I do to feel better right now? Because I'm quite miserable." And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to a hot yoga class. And going from extreme cold to the extreme heat, back to the extreme cold again, oh my God, it felt amazing. Yeah, it was quite an awesome experience. So yeah, I love that you're into that too. It's so helpful. I think that honestly, I feel like it's one of the most important things anybody can do for themselves, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And with like how physically demanding this job is.
Yes.
If I skip, and I haven't been that great recently, to be honest, with my yoga practice.
Yeah.
But I know I have to do it every day. Especially since I'm doing my work in short spurts. So it's like if you do nothing all week and you work like twice a week and you show up and then you're throwing yourself around a pole and you're doing this high impact stuff on the ground and in high heels and then walking on your feet for hours, you're pretty wrecked afterwards if you don't stretch. And I definitely see the difference.
Yeah, for sure. It affects everything too. It affects your attitude. It affects, I feel like the way that your body feels truly can affect everything.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go back to something you said at the very beginning about you would really, when it comes to sitting with a customer and you're the girl next door, you're really getting to know them, you're being, authentic and everything. Then you said as soon as you decide you want to ask them for a dance, that's when you turn up your energy. What does that look like?
So, yeah, when I come up to customers, so where I work, there's a really high volume of girls, and at least during the day, so there's a really high volume of girls, and so when I get to a customer, if I don't get to him first, this guy is halfway through his beer, and he's already been approached by like 6 girls.
Wow, okay.
And so I can go up to him, and I'm trying to be as mellow as possible. Like, I am not aggressive. Like, don't be scared. Like, because some of these guys, you can tell they're just like, oh my gosh, like they're so overwhelmed.
Right.
So I go up there and I just act like I don't want anything from them. I just happen to be sitting next to them. And, oh, wow, look, we're getting engaged in this nice conversation that's like, no strings attached. And just try and convince them.
So what does your body language look like when you do that? When you come to approach somebody with the attitude of, I don't want anything from you, is there any kind of physical contact at all? Do you sit next to them? Do you, like, if you're at the bar, do you sit just facing the bar? Do you face them? Does it vary?
Sometimes I'll usually ask if I can sit next to them.
Okay.
Because I know it's good to get into the mode of them saying yes.
Yeah, good job. Very nice.
And so that's something I learned from this, I can't remember what it was called, but it's this website, and this lady teaches this really great class, so I did like this free intro talking a lot about how to get a man to say yes. And if you get them to say yes a certain amount of times, then when you ask them for a dance, they're already in yes mode because the brain is lazy and it just wants to keep on saying yes.
I want to say real quick, getting them to say yes is super true. Getting people to say yes over and over and over does exactly that. It gets them in this like habit of just saying yes to you. So as long as you keep them saying yes, that's actually supposed to be an episode. God, I've got so many different topics, and it's like, it truly is like the information in this is never ending. And then when girls do start to evolve and get into next level stuff, like we're talking about energy and stuff, there really is a rabbit hole of stuff that it's like, it's honestly, it's truly never ending. But
okay, sorry, I can finish my thought. Okay, so anyways, I'll usually go up, and sometimes it also depends on the customer. Sometimes I'll come up to them and I'll put a hand on their back, and so depending on their energy, I'll reach out and put an arm on their back and let them know I'm there, and say like, hey, can I sit next to you? And they always say yes. And I'll just chat with them. I have like certain questions I'll ask them, like, oh, how's your day going? Like, or I'll be like kind of cute and be like, oh, what brings you to our lovely establishment this evening? Or find out whether or not they've been there before, because if they haven't, then that's, I get to do this whole, welcome to so-and-so, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and so I usually try and be upbeat. I try and, I want to be fun. I'm not like crazy party girl vibe, but I just try and be fun and friendly. And I just ask them some basic questions and get them talking, so I don't have to talk very much. And if I get bored by whatever they say, then I'll change the subject.
Smart.
And I'll usually, I'll have my legs towards them. I try and keep contact with one of their knees with my knees. But other than that, I don't make a lot of contact. I'll tilt my head and look at them and do that. If he wants more contact, if he reaches out and to make more contact with me, then I'll allow him to do that. And so then, depending on that, I'll engage him more physically. I like to shake hands, because when I shake hands, I can reach out my other hand and like kind of give him more of an intimate handshake.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And because before I was just reaching out my hand and introducing myself, and I realized, oh, okay, now this is very formal. This is disconnected.
Right.
So, but I still want to introduce myself, so now I'd use both hands, and that way I can kind of stroke the top of their hand when I shake their hands.
That's extremely smart. I've heard recently that, I don't know if this is due to a long time ago before, I don't know how long this is dated back, but when you put out both hands and you clasp that person's hand in your other one, it's basically showing you that they're safe with you. And as weird as it sounds, in part, I think it's because like reptilian brain, we're talking like going really far back here, maybe not that far, but really far back, it shows them that you don't have a weapon in your other hand.
Oh, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's just a subconscious thing that they'll pick up. They might not be thinking you had a weapon in your other hand, but it will make them feel safer when you do reach out and you clasp their hand with both hands. So that's super smart.
Yeah, and it also gives me the opportunity to, like, I have nails, and so they can see my nails and feel my nails on the back of their hand briefly, and just little things like that. And I've gotten better about this. I was not good at this at first, and now I have kind of a rule. I don't sit with a customer for more than 3 songs.
Smart.
Before I make my little sales pitch.
Okay.
And, because I just dealt with a lot of time wasters, and I would sit with a guy for 20 minutes and then he wouldn't even want to dance, and it's like, wow. And unless like at 3 songs they're really into it, but I just don't feel like it's time, or if it's slow and I'm okay talking with this guy and kind of seeing where it goes, at 3 songs I'll usually try and close the sale, and or unless he's like tipping me while I talk, which happens sometimes, which is the coolest thing.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, oh wow, like thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for appreciating the fact that I'm like sitting here spending time with you.
Do you tell them that?
Huh?
Do you say that to them? Thanks for appreciating the time.
Yeah, I'm like,
okay,
oh my gosh, like, wow, that's so sweet. Like, people don't usually do that. And they're usually like, oh yeah, like, you guys are working and I appreciate you. And I'm like, oh, you're a good one. Like,
that's smart. So 3 songs, that's a great time frame. Especially, I used to wear a watch with me because I would try to gauge how long I was spending with people, because I didn't want to sit with them that long. And I feel like spending too much time with people kills the fantasy, because now they start to get to know maybe too much about you. You start to become a little bit too real. Like, you're in fantasy land, I feel like being the fantasy is the way to go before you try to sell the dance, because it's like if you sit with them too long, I feel like you start to become friends with them, and then that kind of makes the money exchange a little bit weirder. So
you get friend zoned for sure.
Exactly.
I've definitely killed the vibe, or if you get to a point where the conversation stagnates, and then there's awkward silences, and then it's like, oh, so then you can tell that it's forced, anything I say. So I really try, and 3 songs seems to be the sweet spot for me. And usually at that point, if they want to dance, then they'll bring it up, which usually comes out of nowhere for me.
That's awesome.
And I love that. And I'm just like, oh, yes, like, thank you. I don't say thank you, but in my mind, I'm like, wow, you just made that so easy. Thank you. Otherwise, I'm not actually... I do want to improve on how I ask for dances, because that part I don't really like. I don't like asking for dances. But I think I get more dances because I ask. It seems like a lot of girls expect the guys to ask, and they'll just wait forever. But I'll just reach out, make contact again, and I'll try and be playful and kind of increase the amount of playful energy I'm giving them until I ask them for a dance, and I say something like, oh, like, are you ready to go play with me? Or like, oh, are you ready to go get a booth? Or let me entertain you? Or something like that.
Those are cute.
Yeah, and it seems to work. And if they don't want to, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, and if I leave them, I always say, I'm going to come back and check in on you, make sure you're still having a good time, and I usually do come back.
Do you ever try to resell them?
If they give me, like, an amorphous answer that's like, oh, not right now, or maybe in a little bit, or after I finish this beer, I don't want to sit with them anymore. I'm,
right.
you know, over it. And I'm also, while I'm talking to a customer, I am scanning the floor. I try and do it really discreetly because I want them to know all my energy is into them. But if I see some other potential customers, then that will increase the likelihood of me leaving. And then, and so then I come back, and sometimes I do get dances from them eventually. Like, they were being honest. They just weren't ready right then.
Right. Yeah, I do think that actually happens more often than I probably really believed. I used to, when people would say, yeah, I'm in a little bit or whatever, I'd be like, that's it, I'm not, you know, I'm done. I mean, I would never go back. But then, I don't know if you've heard the interview that I did with a guy named Armando. And
I did. I actually listened to that like 3 times because it was so interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was super surprised by some of the stuff he was saying. I was like, oh my God, I wish I had known this before. Right? Yeah, so that makes me feel like I need to get some more guys on here too. So if there's any guys listening that are strip club connoisseurs that want to call in, please get in touch with me because I thought that was crazy interesting. But one of the things that he said, you know, like, they'll say, come back, you know, he'll tell them to come back later. He actually means it. It's like, oh, okay. And he said that one girl, I think he gave $1,000 to over the night, and he would get a few dances with her here, and then tell her to come back later. And then she would. And then he would get more dances with her, and then he'd tell her to come back later again. Like, I
think about that a lot.
Yeah, super. I never would have saw that coming. And I wish I had known about that. That's something I seriously wish I had known about. And I did an interview with a Hustler Club manager, and he talked about one of his top income earners. I haven't posted the episode yet because it's super long. I have a lot of editing to do on it, but he talked about his one of his top income earners, and she basically just doesn't hear the word no. So if if she asks him for a dance and they say no, she just comes back to him later. He said sometimes she'll come around to him 5, 6, 7 times before finally she'll be like, okay, maybe he really doesn't want to dance. Yeah, but it takes her a long time to finally give up on that customer. And he says it works for her. And I would imagine that it would work for everybody. I would imagine that it would work, maybe not for everybody, but that it would really work for a lot of people, because branching out of stripper stuff, studying sales, I have heard that it can take 5 to 7 times of seeing something, an advertisement or an interaction with something, until people will actually buy that thing.
That's totally true, yeah, and like brand names, like things that people recognize.
Exactly. They become comfortable with it, they become familiar with it, they start to trust it, and then they'll buy it.
Yeah, definitely. So any guy that I talk to when I go around the club, if I don't go back up to him, I at least make some sort of contact with him throughout the night, like either visually, like we meet eyes and I like give him a wink or something, because we probably had a conversation, so we started building up some sort of camaraderie, and just to like kind of connect and just kind of continue that connection. Right.
How do you feel about eye contact? How important do you think that is?
Eye contact is, I think it's extremely important.
Me too.
Yeah, because it's a, genuine, vulnerable, window to the soul. And I think people don't trust you as much if you don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
I think there comes a point where you make too much eye contact, and the customer, someone's going to be afraid of that, especially if they don't like to. So I'm really trying to keep in consideration what they, just really putting a lot of energy into reading the customer. It's like, okay, he's really nervous. Like, maybe he's never been to a club before. Okay, like I gotta go really easy on this guy. And then some people, they're making a lot of eye contact with me. I'm like, okay, I'll make a lot of eye contact with you.
Right.
But I think it goes a long way.
I think it goes a super long way too. There's 2 things I want to say to that. One is, I feel like, well, this is something I've studied somewhere, I don't remember where, But looking at people, instead of trying to look from one eye to another or just looking in one eye or whatever, looking right at the bridge of their nose, not the tip of their nose, but kind of like the middle of their nose, is a less intense feeling for people from what I've heard. And another is if you can tell if someone's nervous by if they're rubbing their hands together. If they're rubbing their hands or if they're rubbing their legs, their thighs or something, it's a self-soothing kind of action that your body will...
that's good to know. I didn't know that.
So I thought that was super interesting too. So if you see someone doing something like that, that's a good sign that they're definitely nervous. So something you might want to try to make them feel comfortable. And I don't know, maybe this could backfire. This is just something I would feel like would make people feel like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. Like I'm just here to, I'm just here to have a conversation with you and hopefully, give you a dance later. But rubbing their back, like putting your hand up on their back and just kind of rubbing it just for a second, maybe not for long, but even just for a second, just so that they know, hey, it's all good. There's no reason to be worried. And then put your hand back down or put your hand on your leg or on his leg or whatever.
Yeah, that's something I actually really need to work on. I've been consciously trying to do it because it's not in my normal day-to-day. I don't make a lot of contact with people in real life. And so I've really been trying to work on just making more contact with customers and back massages and things like that, which doesn't come naturally to me. So I'm definitely out of my comfort zone doing that, but it does always get a really good response. So,
girl, it does not come naturally to me to touch people at all either. When I spent some time in Southern Florida, like most of the people down there, the majority are Hispanic. And the way they greet each other, they'll come up and kiss you on the cheek and stuff. And it's like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know about that. So even when it comes to hugs and stuff with people, I'm like, I don't know you, at all.
Right.
Like, why are you hugging me? So I definitely know what you mean. So that's something to note is when you go into work, I really try to detach from who I am and put my super introvertedness away and turn into this just, very outgoing, touchy-feely kind of person. Because I feel like, at least for me, and I'm sure there's all types of different customers and different types of people that want different things, but for myself, I feel like the things that have helped me sell the most have been first gauging where they're at, like if they're super nervous or if they are excited or if they're a little bit more like they're definitely interested. I don't give them personal space. Like, especially like you said about turning up the energy. Like at first I might be a little bit more standoffish, but for myself, when I decide also, okay, it's time for a dance, and that might be mid-sentence in my sentence or in his. Like I might just all of a sudden change the topic and lean in and just put my hand on his neck or on his shoulder or whatever with a deep gaze in the eyes and then be like, hey, we should go to the back. Or we should go play, or hey, I want to come play with you, or something along those lines. But just what you said, turning up the sexual energy, just the like deep gaze and, like, let's do this kind of a thing. So...
Well, and I feel like a lot of customers, or the majority of them, people lack intimacy in their lives. And that's one of the things that I have to offer. It's a service industry job. And so something I have to offer is that intimacy. It doesn't need to be some, super intense lap dance.
Right.
It's actually not that often that I run into a customer that wants that. A lot of times, like, they just want contact. Like, who knows how many people they've had contact with that month.
Right.
Like, or even like got to like touch or be touched by. And so I really, anytime I actually do it, which is more now, I always get an amazing response. And so I'm just trying to like, okay, like, get into that zone, like you said, and just be like, okay, this is what I do. Like I'm, upbeat and fun and I make lots of contact.
Right. That's something that I learned a while ago also was that it is super healthy. It's super healthy, apparently, for people to get physical contact. I'm going to give a weird example here, but when babies are born, if the baby is born prematurely or has a problem, the babies that get put in those little incubators, the little glass box things, the ones that have less human contact, where people go into these little glass boxes and stick their hands in gloves to touch the baby, which I think is a horrible fucking practice, by the way.
It is.
This is a horrible, horrible thing that this exists. I can't imagine there isn't a better way to do this, but this is just a study that I saw. The babies that get the most interaction, they're the ones that grow fastest, and they're the ones that recover quicker. So, and people, we're all just a bunch of big little kids, really. So getting human contact from other people is super important. And that's been something that's been really important for me to remember, because I'm so standoffish. Like, nah, I don't want you to touch me, But realizing these people need this, like they want it. And then when you go to touch them, being like, this is healing this person. This is helping them.
Right.
And it helps give you more feeling of value too. So you feel better about asking them to come for a dance. Because I don't know about you, when I first started, I felt like I was trying to get something from them, and it made me feel uncomfortable. Now I look at it more as I'm providing you something that you want and maybe need. So let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. Before it felt really one-sided, like, oh, I'm just trying to take this guy's money, and like, I didn't feel that good about it. And then I realized, no, like I'm offering an amazing service. Like I am a therapist. I am like people are coming here for this. You don't come into a strip club without wanting some form of interaction. You might not want to dance, but you want something from a female. Right.
And they probably do all want dances, but they just might not be able to afford it.
Right, yeah, which I don't know why you're in there if you can't afford it. But there's definitely those.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Well, that's another good thing to keep in mind is for guys that can't afford it that are in there, they're probably depressed to some degree. And if they live in town and you do give them that attention, even if it's just in a 3-song time span and you know that they don't want to dance, but you've been really good to them the whole time they've been there, when they do have money, they might come back and see you because you were the person that was really good to them while they were super depressed and you didn't have any money and they couldn't get a dance with you. So later they might be like, oh, I'm going to go back and see that girl.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I try and make sure that I'm just kind to everyone.
Yeah.
And so if I talk to someone for a while and he's like, I don't have any money, instead of being like some girls that are just like, oh, like, bye, like, or why are you here? Like, they get, irritated because he did just take their time. I'm like, oh, like, it's okay, like, I'll spend, like 60 seconds more, like, talking to them and, letting them know it's okay, and then I leave them in a really kind way, and then I'll try and check in on them for the rest of the night, because they're there, and, yeah, like, they could, if we build some sort of connection or relationship, then they'll come back when they have money.
Right. That's good. I'm just going to let you know right now while I'm thinking about it, I really, really, really hope you start your own podcast. I truly do. Yeah, I think that would be awesome, and I would definitely be a listener because I want to know more about your background and how you got to where you are because I'm sure that there's a lot there. So
it's a pretty crazy story. Yeah, I think that would be good. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, the resources I found online are so amazing, and so but there's not that many. There's like you, and there's a couple websites and. Some other local things like out of Portland that I listen to, but really like... Give us
some examples. What are some of the things that you look into?
Well, on the Apple app, if you just look up like the word stripper or dancer or whatever, there's like the Stripper PDX podcast. Actually, I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. They're just saved.
Are they active?
Yeah, they're active. And they range through, like, most of them, yours is the only one that I found that is specifically for dancers.
Okay.
And all the other ones are kind of broad ranging over the sex industry in general. Mm-hmm. And so you can go through and find out lots of information about all sorts of different things. But what I really appreciate about yours is that it's very just honing in on this particular industry.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm glad that you said that because I've thought about branching out into other things, but out of more of like a curiosity. Like somebody in the Facebook group asked the other day about sugar daddies. And it's like there's so many there's so many different ways that girls can make money through entertainment that it's like but this is the one that I know So this seems like the one for me to stick with.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, go on.
Oh, when I started out, it's like I knew nothing, and you just, you sink or you swim. You just hit the ground running, and you can get help from the girls in your club, but not always.
Right.
Usually, it takes a little bit to break into a club and into the social group. And so there's lots of things that I just didn't know that you're supposed to know, and and I talked to you about this, the etiquette between coworkers, which I finally figured out. But that's not written anywhere. You just I just pissed someone off because I didn't know this basic thing that apparently is an unspoken thing that everyone knows.
Right. Give us some examples, because this is an important topic too.
So things like I didn't know, and I figured it out very quickly, but I didn't know that as a dancer, when a girl's on stage, you don't talk to guys at the rack.
Right.
And I've seen lots of new girls come in since, and I've been the one to talk to them, because I was like, I wish someone told me, being like, don't talk to the customers at the rack. They're there to pay the dancer. You can talk to them when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And every club is different, but at the clubs I work at, they, if a girl's talking to a customer and she has a drink, when she gets up and she goes to, if it's day shift, we have to put our own songs in, or if she uses the restroom and goes in the dressing room and she leaves her drink next to him, that's like a universal sign to all of us to not talk to him. She's not done with him.
Right.
So things like that, but every club is different. Maybe that's just the way that, I'm in Oregon and we're just really friendly with each other. So I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
How every club works. And,
have you bounced around clubs at all, or have you stayed at the same one?
I just left my first club that I started out at that was smaller after experiencing this larger club in Portland. Portland has more strip clubs per capita than anywhere else on the Northwest. And so I feel like they do it really well. They've got to unlock how to do it well. And in this small town I'm in, they get away with a lot of things, and I don't feel very supported by the management. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to work here. I make a lot more money in Portland. So
okay.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I don't think just because there doesn't need to be any sort of loyalty to a club.
No, hell no.
Not
at all. As a matter of fact,
I really liked the girls. I liked the club itself, and I liked my regulars I had there. But yeah, it didn't feel like the safest place to work, and that was really important.
You think that was because of the management?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had a customer do something he really shouldn't have done, and I told the bartender, and she said okay. And then he was still there, and then he did it to 2 other girls.
Oh my God.
And then I told the owner, and he was like, well, why'd you turn your back on him? And I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you serious?
Asshole. Yeah.
And then he didn't kick him out. And so I was like, I'm done. I don't need that. And I was having to avoid this guy all night at work. I wasn't really able to work because I was trying to avoid this guy that they wouldn't make leave. So things like that, you don't need to put up with that. That's dumb.
Completely agree with that. I went from working at a super nice club. I mean, technically compared to, it was like a nightclub. It was like an upscale nightclub, really, but it was also a strip club. And I was only making a couple $100s a night there. Granted, I was fairly new, but, I probably worked there for over a year, and I was making a couple $100s a night, and, it varied. Sometimes it was on the, up to 600, but I don't think I ever made, no, that's not true. So it was a little bit more than that sometimes, but my best night there was 700 something, and I was working, I don't know if it was a day shift or a night shift. I think it was midday at some point. Some girl came in, and I got a dance with her and another guy, and as soon as the dance was over, she looked at him and said, pay for 2 songs and go back to the bar and wait for me. And he said, okay, and he pulled out his wallet, handed me some money, walked back to the bar, and she goes, sit down. She goes, you don't have to dance. She goes, you should come work at Mons Venus. She said, you would make $1,000 a night there. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah, because I was only making a couple $100 a night, really, for the most part. And I was like, I'll be there tomorrow. And the next day I was there, and my first night I made $1,000, and I was like, wow. You don't realize, if you don't take the time to branch out and to see what else is out there, you never know. I mean, the club that, that club was 30 minutes away from the one that I worked in. And I had no idea. And part of the reason why I didn't want to go there was because it was a full nude club. So, and I had heard some rumors about it. Rumors just aren't necessarily true. Like, you've got to go and experience something for yourself to really know if it's valid or not. So I went, and man, I loved it. And I ended up working all over the country after that, but I still kept going back to that club because it was the best. The management was all women, and they were, oh my God, I loved them so much. Like, if you had a guy, just do something disgusting or whatever. Like, I'll just give an example. If you have somebody come while you're dancing on them or something. Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not on me, but like I knew that he did it, and I was just like, it's I'm halfway between like, oh, you poor dear, and just like, oh, that's gross. Like,
yeah,
okay, I don't get mad at them, but I'm like, ugh.
Right. Yeah, getting mad at them is not a logical thing to do because you want them to come back and see you, right? Obviously, they really enjoyed being with you. You did a good job, so, there's really no reason to be mad, but it's disgusting. So, walking up to a manager, it being like, I have to go because somebody just came on me. And if it's a male manager, they'd be like, oh, well, you still have 2 more hours that you need to be here. That's been my experience. But at that club, it was just kind of like, I have to go. And you don't even need a reason. And they're like, okay. Like, because they've been there. They've done it. They know what it's like. And they're like, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. Like, I hope your night gets better. So my experience there. So yeah, I think branching out and trying different places is very beneficial.
Every club has a different way of doing things. Like at the small club I was working at, if I showed up late, they charged me a fee. If I wanted to leave early, they charged me a fee, which technically isn't even legal.
Right.
And all this stuff, and just like it. And then at this other club I work at, that I drive 2 hours to get to this club.
Whoa.
'Cause I don't live in Portland. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I only work. I mean, which is kind of good, because if I was up there, I'd be like, I'm gonna work every day, and I would not make as much money. So I work, I'll make it a weekend, or I'll go up also during midweek if I want a little extra money. But I just I text them because they know that I travel, and so I don't have a schedule, and so I just say, hey, I'm coming up, and they're like, okay, and I show up whenever I want, and then if it gets to like midnight and I have to pay my night fee, but if I want to leave, they're just like, okay, just let us know so we can take you off rotation. So we're not like calling your name, but that's it. Like, they're like, yeah, I'm like, I'm really tired. I got to go. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. There can be massive differences that can truly affect your life by the club that you work at. I mean, truly, like if a lot of people spend a lot of time at work, and if you have a manager that you really can't stand, or they have a policy there that is just bullshit, like there's so many things about working at different places that can be so different that can make your life so much better or so much worse. So it's like to, branch out and to find these places. And like you do, even if it's a couple hours away, maybe it is really worth it to cut down on your days and put in a lot of hours per day that you decide to go in. Plus, I feel like once you get in the flow, like once you get into stripper mode, you can stay there for a long time. And yeah. And as an introvert or somebody that does feel energy a lot, it's like it can take a lot of mental energy for me to go to work. So to take that energy and to be like, okay, I know for sure I'm going in on this day, and I'm going to be there all day. And it's not like something you have to think about, because as a dancer, for the most part, a lot of clubs have it so that you can go in anytime you want. You're not on a schedule. Some places do have schedules, but I've not liked most of the places that I've worked at with a schedule. So most of them you can come and go whenever you want. So if your club is right down the street from you, it's like every single day you could be at work making money. And it gets mentally draining. At least it got super mentally draining for me. And I had never set a schedule for myself. So that's one of my biggest regrets, is not setting a solid schedule for myself that I just followed without that mental back and forth. Should I go to work tonight? Should I not go to work tonight? I don't know. I do need the money, but I really don't want to go, or whatever in between. So,
well, and I didn't work all this week, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a break, and I usually work during the week at this other club, and I stopped doing that, and it's been kind of excruciating because I'm like, I could be making so much money.
Right.
Also, another thing that I do that really helps with my money is I have, I'm really good with regulars. I have an email. I don't give anyone my phone number. I don't want my phone getting blown up.
Smart.
I give regulars, if I like someone and they spend a lot of money on me, I give them my email address. And then before I go to work, when I know I'm going to go there like the day before, I send out the same email to all of them saying, I'm going to be at work from this time to this time. Like, I'd love to see you. And they show up. So one time I had like 5 regulars that all spend, a couple $100 show up all at once.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I gotta...
That's an awesome idea, especially because if you're texting them, if they text you back right away, it's like, okay, you're supposed to reply because you just texted this person. It's a very intimate kind of thing. But if you're just sending out an email, you send an email, you close your email, and if they email you back, obviously you might not know. So there's no need or like courtesy or whatever that you might feel compelled to do to email them back at all or right away. So
yeah, or I say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your email till now. And
right. And you can just reply to them whenever you feel like it, as opposed to feeling like you need to do that right away. That's brilliant. I love that. I think that's super brilliant.
It's really helpful, and I see other like coworkers. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's blowing up my phone." And they show me their text, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like why did you give him your number?"
Right.
They're like, "I don't know. That's just what you do." And I'm like, "Don't do that."
I'm totally gonna make a stripper email. That's super brilliant. I love it because I know lots of girls the same thing. But some of them have they'll text them back right away. And when I was in Florida recently, I was working and I was giving out I have a Google phone number, which I recommend everyone to get if you don't use email, which is I think that's a way better idea to do it that way. But a Google phone number is a number that you can attach to your number that they can, if they Google the number you've given them, nothing's going to show up under that number. And so they can't find you. And if they start to blow you up, you can mute the text, you can block them, you can, it's kind of convenient. But I think your idea is way better. I made
one of those first. I made a Google number, but then when people asked me my number, I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, this is awkward. So I just was like, I don't have a good memory for numbers, so I was like, okay, we'll just do the email.
Okay.
But I do know girls like that works really well for them too.
Yeah. Okay, that's super smart. So what happened to your confidence when you started stripping?
Oh, it went, confidence or
yeah.
competence? I mean, it went up in a huge way. I don't see how it can't.
Right.
I mean, you definitely, run into people that aren't, super stoked on you, but that's just something you learn how to brush off. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, like being in your body and feeling empowered as a woman, I think it's like one of the most feminist things you can do right now.
Yeah.
Like, I have this female body and people are willing to pay to be around me, not even to like get anything else, just to be around me.
Right.
Like that's awesome. And like, I do really enjoy being on stage. Near the end of the night, I get pretty tired, but at the same time, like it's really fun. Like it's fun to be able to dance and like express yourself and, feel beautiful. And also the amount of self-care that you have to put into it.
Yeah.
Is like, it's just an added benefit. Like, oh, like, I'm doing my hair and like I'm paying to get my hair done and I get my nails done, and not everyone needs to do that, but I like to do that, and it's just like some forced self-care because I never was very good at self-care. So now I have to do self-care, and I have to take baths, and I have to, get massages and like do all these things that just make me feel really good. And that adds to, if I feel really good, I feel confident, then, I'm going to do better at work, and that's going to also attract other people, and then I feel more confident at work, and it's just this really great thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then as a result, you feel better. So it's certainly not just about looks, but you also feel a lot better in your own body, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and using your body and feeling comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Is, it's huge.
Right.
And people get that from doing, physical things as well, like gymnastics and sports and stuff. And I feel like anything that you're doing to get into your body is going to help your confidence.
Yeah. Hey, how are you on time?
I think I have an appointment that I need to get to actually in a little bit. I think it's been about an hour.
Yeah, we've been on here for about an hour, which is why I was asking. Okay, I have 2 questions I want to ask for you, and unless you need to go right now.
No, that's fine.
Okay. We didn't even get into your law of attraction stuff. I didn't realize how much time had gone by.
Oh, yeah. That's been huge. So listening to your podcast and things you talk about with that, I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. One thing is that as far as money goes, I've always been fearful of money. I've never allowed myself to have money. Maybe I felt like I wasn't worthy of money. I grew up really poor, and so I kind of wrote off money as I just don't need it. Like, I can get by, or, we'll just keep life really simple. And I didn't realize that mentality was actually keeping me from creating wealth for myself. And so on my way to work, I do all these mantras and affirmations to myself, and, mainly talk about how much money I'm going to make, how I'm, fantastic, amazing, and awesome, which is actually a really horrible, hard thing to say, actually, and, believe it. But I forced myself to say it, and it's kind of like the same thing, like staying in the bathroom, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm beautiful. Like, it can actually be really challenging to say, and that's all the more reason to do it.
Right, I agree.
And I talk to myself, I call myself by my dancer name to, help me get in the zone. And, I say, I'm going to get at least 3 dances from every customer. It's going to be easy. I'm going to find all the right guys, and all the right guys are going to find me. We're just going to be attracted to each other. It's going to be easy. It's going to be amazing. It's okay if it's slow. I'm going to keep my energy up. I'm going to keep my vibe up, and I'm just going to find all the right customers. And,
so it's a lot of self-talk. Do you see this happening? Do you see these interactions at all? Or is it more of a feeling, or more of just the thinking of those experiences?
Both. I try and visualize it. I try and feel it and visualize it, and I just expect it.
Yeah,
I just have this is what's going to happen, and
cool.
I know that it can happen. I know that the amount of money I want out of the club that night is there.
Yes.
I know it's there, and it's my job. There's probably more than that for every girl working there.
Right.
There's so much money that comes into that club.
Right.
Everyone can walk out just because I'm making a ton of money doesn't mean that I'm taking away money from any of the other girls. Everyone could make so much money if they just believed that they could make it.
Right.
And so I know it's there, and I just, it's the belief and the affirmations and the law of attraction, plus, taking the time to learn how to pick the right customers. If I only talk to young guys all night, which I usually avoid, I would be not making as much money.
Great example.
Preventing myself. So also just knowing some logical things helps as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, telling myself I'm going to make this much money and it's going to be easy. I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do. Reminding myself of that. And just telling myself I'm going to do my best. No matter what, even if for some reason I didn't make my quota, as long as I know that I did my best, I know there's nothing wrong with me. I know that I'm attractive. And as long as I'm doing my best, then I can't get down on myself about anything. It's just it just wasn't a good night. That's okay.
Right.
But I did my best. And it's on nights where I was really lazy, and I haven't done this for a while now, but on nights where I was lazy and I didn't really try, and it was just I didn't make as much money, and I would be upset with myself because I knew that I did that to myself.
Right. Okay. All right, cool. All right, let me ask you one more question. I've got multiple more questions that I want to ask you, but I was thinking we were going to do this for an hour, and then I looked down at the time, and I was like, oh, no. Okay. It's been a little bit longer than that.
That's okay.
Well, tell me, do you have time for 2 questions? What is one of your best customer experiences, and then the best advice that you would give to girls getting into the industry?
Best customer experiences.
If you had someone just give you a lot of money for no reason, or...
Oh, okay. so I had this crazy experience. I was on stage, and there was this old guy. I think he was Italian. He had kind of an accent, and he was watching me, and I was interacting with him from the stage. And at the end of my set, I looked down, and there was a $50 bill.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So I pick it up, and I go to him, and I'm like, oh, thank you, because I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe he did that by accident. I don't really want to say anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to, if he did, I really need to give him some attention.
Right.
And I was like, wow, thank you so much. And he was like, oh, you deserve it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, wow, thanks. And he said, you want to do some dances? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I went back, and I gave him 2 dances.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really polite and sweet, and he wasn't, weird or anything. And then he pays me for my 2 dances, and at this club, they're $20 each. And he hands me $300.
That's awesome.
I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, like, you're welcome. Like, you're working hard. Like, you deserve it. And I was like, do you want, like, okay. I was like, going to be like, do you want some more dances? Like, he's like, no, which I shouldn't say, but I'm just also, I struggle with being too nice sometimes. And yeah, so that was like, wow. So you never know what can happen. Weird things happen. So that was a really positive interaction, and it's better than getting paid $300 for doing a ton of dances with someone that maybe you don't particularly like. Like, that was so easy and unpredictable. And then I do have a regular that comes in to the club in Portland I work at, who every time he comes in, he spends about $400 on me.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
One of the reasons. Yeah, so I have a couple regulars like that, and I spend a lot of time on him. So when he comes in, I am with him for probably like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just spending time with him.
Yeah.
Because it's worth it. That's fine. Like, please come in every Saturday.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's great. He doesn't want dances. He does this, like, acupressure thing. So he just wants me to sit on his lap, and he just kind of, like, pokes me.
Oh my God, that's
like,
awesome.
And some girls don't like him, and, he wanted to do things like slap my ass and stuff, and I don't like that. I bruise really easily, and I was like, man, like, you're going to prevent me from making more money.
Yeah.
So sorry. Like, I won't do that. And anything that I don't like, he doesn't do it, but I just sit there, and he just, like, does this really interesting, like, energy work on me. And it's kind of like a therapy session. And when we're done, I'm all like, whoa, like, I've got all these endorphins. I'm like, man, I should be paying you. Like, this is really therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I'll sit in there with him for, like, 9 songs doing that. And 9 or 12 songs.
Oh,
so that's a really cool experience. It's not your typical just, like, doing a lap dance. Like, you meet people that want certain things or do all sorts of different people. That's their thing. So that's really positive. And as far as advice for people coming into the industry, I would say, definitely echoing some things that you have said, I kept my head down. Once I realized that I was going to do this, like, don't do it if you're going to just half-ass it. Like, do it to do it.
Yeah.
Like, be in it. Don't waste your time, and realize that your time is worth a lot of money. That's something I tell myself, being like, my time, like, I'm worth a lot. And so not to compromise my time or my energy on anyone. And keeping my head down, staying out of drama, trying to, don't try and buddy up to the other girls, but be really pleasant, because they can make or break, like, how positive your work day is.
For sure.
Tip all of your management really well. So, like, they all know, like, the DJ knows how much I make, because I have to take myself out of rotation every time I do a dance.
Okay.
So I tip her double or triple what I should, because she's going to help me out a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, take care of management. If they take care of you, like, pay them well. And don't be afraid to talk to anyone. Just don't be afraid. That's something I tell myself. And I still tell myself every time, is like, I'm not afraid of anyone. Like, I am not going to just, before, if I would see a group of guys, I would, I was too intimidated to go talk to them. And now I just kind of throw myself in the middle of them. Just like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like,
right.
Oh, it's like awkward and uncomfortable. Like, oh no. Like,
yeah.
And so don't be afraid of anyone or anything. Like, they're in your house.
Yeah.
And, everything is based on your consent. Like, you are 100% in control. And if you ever feel like you're not in control, get yourself out of that situation immediately.
Right. Awesome. Well, Daphne, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your insights, and girl, super interesting. You're super interesting. I could talk to you for a really, really long time. I already know. Please start your own podcast. You've already got your first episode if you want to use this. I really enjoyed this. So thanks for listening, everybody. Knowledge really is power, and I really want this show to be about building powerful women who help lift each other up instead of push each other down. So
Absolutely.
so thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Daphne. I so appreciate you. Have a great time at whatever your appointment is, and I'll talk to you on Facebook.
All right.
Okay, have a good day, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening, everybody. I had a couple more things that I wanted to add. I have officially hit 600 subscribers today, and I wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening. It truly means a lot to me, and I'd like to ask you to start coming out of the closet a little bit. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I would love for you to leave me a review. I would truly love to hear your thoughts on it. And if you're listening to this on the YouTube channel, I would love for you to leave me a comment on every single video that you feel compelled to say anything. The more I learn about you, the easier it'll be to know what you're looking for. I have a lot of subscribers right now. To myself, in my opinion, I have a decent amount, but I don't know most of you. Some of you are active and reach out, but I would really like to start to hear more about you girls. I'm really curious. And I'm also getting some guys that are following my channel now too. So, feel free to let me know why you're here, because eventually I might do stuff to tailor to men too, because you guys are the ones that fund our lives, quite frankly, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for that. You guys have no idea how I've lived a really good life because of gentlemen that have helped to take care of me, so I really, truly appreciate you. Anyway, this episode has been long enough. I hope that you're remembering to use your beautiful mind to stay focused on not the negative and potentially what might be right in front of you that's negative, but to learn to focus on what you want and to let your subconscious mind start to work for you in the background to figure out how to bring you the things in your life that you actually want. And the more you focus on what you want, the more your mind will figure it out without you even trying. It'll start to go in the background and make things happen. And the last thing, if you want to get more involved, and this is for women only, there is now a private strategic stripping Facebook page. You can't search for it because it's private, so go to the link below and it will take you to a placeholder Facebook page. Click join, fill out the intro questions, and after that, I'll reach out to you and you'll be added to the private group. When you land on the page, you'll know that it's mine. For now, stay positive. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.